Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, a show celebrating and questioning one of the most beloved entertainment companies in the world through honest, passionate, and clear-eyed Disney discussions. I'm Jeff DePauli, your entertainment-obsessed host with rose-colored glasses removed. Today on the show, we have the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by LaughingPlace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on November 2nd, 2022, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. Updated news about the Tokyo DisneySea expansion, Harrison Ford enters the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Frozen is added to Blizzard Beach, and more.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
In some sad news, beloved actor, writer, and singer Leslie Jordan has passed away at the age of 67. The Emmy winner had guest roles on ABC sitcoms like Coach, Ellen, Dharma and Greg, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Reba, and more. He also appeared on Disney Channel shows including Shake It Up and KC Undercover. More recently, he also popped up on 3 different installments of FX's American Horror Story. Outside of Disney, Leslie was known for roles on Will and Grace and was a current regular on Fox's Call Me Kat. During the pandemic, Leslie also became a social media star, sharing lighthearted videos that went viral. Our thoughts are with Leslie's friends and family during this difficult time. Guests of all ages can now get a little extra magic when they call for a minivan, as the Walt Disney World Transportation Service is now equipped to play Mickey Mouse shorts. This update will be rolling out in vehicles over the next couple of weeks. Of course, guests can ask their cast member driver to turn up or turn down the volume as they traverse Walt Disney World. Meanwhile, the next seasonal special to come from the world of Mickey Mouse is The Wonderful Autumn of Mickey Mouse, streaming on Disney Plus starting November 18th. With the holiday season quickly approaching, the Disneyland Resort has announced details about when guests will be able to get their hands on the traditional candy canes made at the resort this year. At Disneyland Park, Candy Palace will feature the canes on December 4th, 6th, 11th, 13th, 18th, 20th, and 24th. Trolley Treats at Disney California Adventure will offer them on December 5th, 7th, 12th, 14th, 19th, 21st, and 25th. With availability of these candy canes being very limited, the resort will implement a mobile waitlist. Once the waitlist is activated, guests can add their name and phone number at the location to receive a text back with a time to return to the location for the opportunity to purchase a candy cane. Even if you can't get your hands on one of these coveted candies, you can still enjoy the rest of the holidays at the Disneyland Resort starting November 11th. As promised, when it was announced that M'Baku would be coming to Avengers Campus, the Disneyland Resort will be celebrating the release of Black Panther Wakanda Forever with a number of special offerings. Starting in Avengers Campus, in addition to M'Baku, the new Black Panther, whomever that might be, will make appearances in the land. Adjacent to the campus, just steps away from the site of the Collector's Fortress, the Black Panther Celebration Garden will honor the legacy of the Black Panther in Wakandan lore. Nearby, superhero recruits will find powerful fuel at the Flavors of Wakanda Marketplace located in the Hollywood backlot, featuring flavorful, spiced traditional African dishes. In the Superstore featuring Avengers Campus located in Hollywoodland, guests will also discover props and costumes from the film, along with plenty of merchandise. These special Black Panther Wakanda Forever experiences will be available from November 11th, 2022 through January 8th, 2023. In addition to the previously announced Agatha Coven of Chaos series, it seems that another WandaVision spin-off is in the works. According to reports, Marvel is developing a new show starring Paul Bettany as Vision, with a series potentially titled Vision Quest. WandaVision creator, writer, and executive producer Jack Schaefer will oversee Vision Quest, as she is also overseeing Agatha Coven of Chaos. No other details about the potential show have been announced just yet, but we'll wait for official confirmation of this MCU expansion. An iconic British television institution is now going global with Disney+. Disney has inked a deal with BBC to exclusively present new episodes of Doctor Who on the streaming service in the United States and other markets outside of the United Kingdom and Ireland. Of note, for the time being, only new episodes of the show will arrive on Disney+, whereas previous installments are currently streaming on HBO Max in the US. Spoiler, as the most recent episodes of the show revealed, David Tennant will play the 14th Doctor, having previously played the 10th Doctor for 3 specials, before Ncuti Gatwa takes over the role as the 15th Doctor. These specials will begin airing on the BBC and now Disney Plus in November 2023. With the Encanto live-to-film concert experience performing at the Hollywood Bowl this month, it's now been announced that the event will be filmed for Disney+. Encanto at the Hollywood Bowl will be available to stream on December 28th, with a special introduction from Lin-Manuel Miranda. The performance will feature an 80-person orchestra conducted by Anthony Panther, 50 dancers, and special effects, giving viewers a front-row seat to the musical extravaganza celebrating the world, characters, and songs of Encanto. Tickets are still available for the live event at the Hollywood Bowl on November 11th and 12th, or you can wait to watch it on Disney Plus this holiday season. It looks as though Han Solo and Indiana Jones himself will be joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Harrison Ford is reportedly taking over the role of Thunderbolt Ross, previously played in the MCU by the late William Hurt. According to Deadline, Ford will first appear in Captain America: New World Order, starring alongside Anthony Mackie, Shira Haas, Tim Blake Nelson, and Carl Lumbly. Presumably, the star will also appear in the upcoming film Thunderbolts, which will unite a number of Marvel heroes and anti-heroes. Captain America: New World Order is currently slated for release on May 3rd, 2024. And now it's time to bring in Kyle Burbank from laughingplace.com. Hello, Mr. Kyle. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Jeff. How about you? I mean, it's Halloween time still. I'm sure you're still in like the hangover of Halloween, right?
Well, we are recording on Halloween Eve right now.
Well, I was trying to stay in listener time.
I broke the fourth wall. And we're recording the day before Halloween. And yeah, I mean, I am in Massachusetts right now, and the Sunday before Halloween is the town where I grew up. It's the big Halloween party, or Halloween parade, rather. And I will tell you that, like, for a town parade, it's great. I've never seen a better city or town parade, other than, like, Pasadena Rose Bowl or something, which is, like, professionally done. And so, like, it's just a big deal. And, tomorrow I'll turn on the scary lights and music and stuff for the trick-or-treaters. So I'm excited. But yes, when people are listening to this, it's the after times. And I very much try to hold on to fall and autumn through Thanksgiving. But, I've got media events already lined up for Christmas very soon. So that's just the reality of September to December is just like my insane time of year. And frankly, the fact that I get a new podcast episode out every week is quite shocking to me sometimes. I'm like, jeez, it's crazy. But in any case, I know you don't love Halloween time, so you must be enjoying the aftermath.
We don't even get trick-or-treaters anymore because we've, first of all, apartment complexes usually don't have a bunch, and now we live in an access-controlled building. So we have a couple packs of Skittles from our not-so-scary Halloween party left over, or Oogie Boogie Bash is what we went to this year. I forget. But yeah, so if anyone does show up, I got 2 packs of Skittles for them, but otherwise, we're good.
Note taken. Kyle does not like the Skittles. Those are the leftovers.
They just don't go with anything. Like, I want to have my candy with a cup of tea, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to eat Skittles and drink green tea. Like, that seems weird.
Oh, I absolutely would. In any case, let's jump into the news, because we got the news that Bob Weiss, Global Imagineering Ambassador and former president of Walt Disney Imagineering, announced that he will retire at the end of the year. Can I be completely honest?
You already thought he retired because he basically did, and this is like his second retirement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that he wasn't retired already.
Well, I thought that was the whole point of giving himself a fake position, is that he can still get paid and not do anything. So now he's like actually going to not do anything and not get paid? Like, it's a weird move.
He does have stuff he wants to do, and we'll get to that. But to quote him for a second, he says, "I will always be proud to have led Imagineering from 2016 to 2021 and to be your global ambassador in 2022. He wrote in an email he shared today with his fellow Imagineers that I am proud to have been an Imagineer, a collaborator, and someone who loves to do impossible things with impossibly talented people." And 2016 to 2021, 5-year run, that's no small thing, but to me it just feels so weird because Marty Sklar was in that position for so long that anybody who 5 years kind of feels like nothing, honestly.
Yeah.
He joined Walt Disney Imagineering, then called Wendt Enterprises, in 1980, soon after graduating college. I mean, he's been there a long time. And within 8 months had relocated to Japan as part of the WED team creating Tokyo Disneyland. Subsequent assignments included creative leadership on Disney's Hollywood Studios, at the time Disney MGM Studios, Tokyo DisneySea, and the reimagining of Disney California Adventure. He led the creative team for the development, design, and construction of Shanghai Disney Resort. So, I mean, major projects he, had major roles in. So it's no small thing for Imagineering to lose him, but like we said, he was kind of already retired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, there's plenty of people there. Just because you don't know all of their names doesn't mean that they're no less important. So I think there's still plenty of talented people there, even if they're not Instagramming about floors.
Oh, Kyle, you killed me, man. Well, I will say, I always want, when somebody's with a company or in a position like that for so many years, I want them to leave on a high note. And, I know that in everything he said, he's like, we've done incredible things in the last years, I'm paraphrasing and stuff, but like, in my opinion, I don't know if you agree or not, like, it's not a high note right now for Walt Disney Imagineering for many reasons. And I always feel bad. I mean, he's been with them since 1980. And of course, you're not going to wait around to retire for things to get better.
I mean, maybe not this very moment, but I think, we talk about Rise of the Resistance being a kind of modge podge of all sorts of different technologies and ride systems put into one. So, I mean, that was only a couple of years ago. I don't think that that's a bad legacy. Like, I know we talk about some of the issues that Galaxy's Edge has, but as far as pretty sizable swings, I think that's a good project. And that's under his leadership, not his direct involvement, because there's other people that led that project specifically. But I think that, and like even Galactic Star Cruiser, which is another big swing, I might be selling him short a bit in terms of what they've done lately.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe they just disappoint me in so many other ways.
Well, because they copied Remy. Like, that's the last thing to open, but...
Plus, to be fair, last thing to open was Guardians, right?
Yeah, which is, I've heard great things about, and you've had nice things to say about it, too. So I think that's also another success. I think you're misproving your own point.
No, I still think that it's not the best of times for Walt Disney Imagineering. Individual projects aside. I don't know.
I think of your issue... I think you're conflating issues at Imagineering with issues in Disney in general. Like, you can they can still put out good attractions even if you don't think that they should exist because of IP, or you don't like the way you need to pay to board them. But the attraction itself, I think, are still, on the whole, they've put out a bunch of good things lately. Even if there's some
lessons. You had to bring Lightning Lane into this, didn't you?
I did, because I think it's clouding your judgment here.
You may be right. There's definitely a cloud when it comes to Disney parks these days, in my opinion. But to disprove you, he's going to actually sit around doing nothing now. Here's what he said. When I retire, I am relishing the opportunity to write a book for the Marty Sklar archives, and I'm in the process of developing a screenplay for Walt Disney Studios. I may even find some time to just go down and walk around Disneyland once in a while. A screenplay, really interesting. I'm curious if that's like something he wanted to do when he was younger, like, get into screenwriting, and then his career took this other trajectory.
I guess I don't know why you need to retire, just to retire from your fake title to do that.
I have a feeling he's doing more than you think with this quote unquote fake title, as you call it. Oh, Kyle.
That's true. The Disneyland, the Disney Parks ambassadors are very busy, but yeah, I don't know the Disney Imagineer global ambassador. I'm not 100% sure what he was doing.
I'm sure it's something. I doubt they're paying him for nothing. So,
a consultant.
You know what? I'll get him on the show, and I'll have you come on, and you can be like, listen, what were you really doing in that last year? Because I think you're doing nothing.
Maybe they're finally making that Magic Kingdoms movie with Jon Favreau. Maybe that's what he's writing.
Ooh, wouldn't that be interesting? I don't know. We'll see. Shall we move on to some more news? Tokyo DisneySea reveals Fantasy Springs area names, because in 2018, if you remember, the Tokyo Disney Resort announced that an 8th themed port of call would be coming to Tokyo DisneySea. With work continuing on the Fantasy Springs port coming to Tokyo DisneySea, Oriental Land Company has now announced the names of the specific areas that will make up this expansion. These sections include Frozen Kingdom, Rapunzel's Forest, and Peter Pan's Neverland. Each of these areas will include a new attraction and restaurant, with Peter Pan's Neverland featuring 2 attractions. Additionally, it was confirmed that the name of the resort hotel that will be attached to the area will be Tokyo DisneySea Fantasy Springs Hotel. The project has now been delayed until spring 2024. It was supposed to open next year in 2023. The anticipated cost of the project has also risen. I know that was a big problem with a lot of stuff that got put on hold because of pandemic. Like, cost of stuff has just gone through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, it's destroyed budgets.
Yeah, so this, I think the difference between the two numbers is like $500 million. So it's basically what DCA cost when it first opened. I think that was 600.
So what I find kind of interesting is, like, Oriental Land Company is basically saying, yeah, it's going to cost us a lot more than we originally anticipated, where I feel like if this was a park that Walt Disney Company ran, it would be like, okay, you're not getting as much as we promised because things got more expensive. So, like, once again, we always see this with Tokyo Disney, I feel like they just put a lot more money into things. So I thought that was an interesting thing that they felt the need to report. Yeah, it's going to cost us more.
Well, I think it's different. The way that I think they have shareholders and stuff, right? So they need to disclose this stuff. And because this is their only business, then it's way more like, not their only business, but obviously a huge part of their business. They need to disclose these things. Whereas if this happened at Disney, because there's so many other businesses, no one's going to pay attention to that one like little line item. But that's why they had to announce. They actually technically announced it separately. So there was one press release announcing all the names and all the details and stuff, and then another press release that was just, oh, by the way, it's been delayed and it's going to cost more. So it's kind of interesting the way they do things over there. And I'm not 100% sure how it works, but that's the way I see it based on the way they release their press releases.
That makes sense. I get that. Let's talk about Frozen Kingdom a little bit, because it is set after the events of the Disney animation film Frozen. Frozen Kingdom is full of happiness now that Queen Elsa has embraced her powers to create ice and snow. The Kingdom of Arendelle has been returned to its former glory, and guests can visit while immersing themselves in a festive mood. At the far end of the village are towering snow-capped mountains with several cascading waterfalls. In the distance, near the summit of North Mountain, Elsa's ice palace glistens proudly, covered in snow. So we didn't really get any information about any of the rides in any of this new information, unfortunately.
Not in the new information. I don't remember if they've previously announced some tidbits about it or not, quite honestly.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's been announced or if we just assumed it was going to be like a Frozen Ever After sort of thing. I don't
think it's going to be quite like that. But, well, then there's the other one in Hong Kong, which is like the one's going to be like Frozen Ever After, but the other one's like that toboggan thing.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't think we have those details just yet on the ride.
So, yeah, I don't think we have details on too much of the... it looks like it actually might be Frozen After, because there's a boat. They did show like the models and stuff at the Parks Pavilion at D23. And so that kind of gives us some clues. And yeah, it's Frozen Ever After is one of those attractions similar to the design at the Epcot attraction, while receiving a similar boat for the Tokyo DisneySea counterpart. So I guess it is. I don't know if that's 100% confirmed or it's just implied. But yes, so we do see ride vehicles, but I think we're still lacking a lot of details.
Alrighty. Well, hopefully there's some major updates, considering like they're starting from scratch and they don't have to retrofit it into something.
I would hope so.
Yeah, hopefully. Over at Rapunzel's Forest, we have Rapunzel's Forest bringing to life the world of the Disney animation film Tangled. In the valley rises the tower where the long-haired Princess Rapunzel has lived since she was a child. At night, the entire forest is bathed in warm light emanating from Rapunzel's tower, lamps lining the paths, glowing restaurant and boathouse windows, and lanterns hanging from the boats. This is going to be gorgeous.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much what I think. even if they don't do anything else, like even if this is just like a Navi river journey, but with Tangled theming, I think it'll be nice to look at.
Yeah, now we have no information about like what kind of ride this is. I haven't heard a thing about it.
Well, again, they have like the ride vehicle, which was a boat, but
Another
other than
boat
that,
ride. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm excited to learn what kind of rides these will be because, I mean, a Tangled ride, we don't have such a thing anywhere, so that's pretty incredible. Honestly, I think it'll be great. Because it's such a beautiful film. And what we've seen in the parks already, even just small stuff like, you know, the towers that they've built in the parks and just the photo ops with the lanterns and even projection nighttime stuff with the lanterns. It's just always beautiful. Everything Tangled just seems beautiful. So I'd be surprised if this wasn't gorgeous, especially considering which park it's going into. So I'm looking forward to that. About Peter Pan's Neverland. This is the world of Disney animation film, Peter Pan, of course, and guests become a member of the Lost Kids, which I find interesting. No longer the Lost Boys, it's the Lost Kids to include everyone. A group of fun-loving, adventurous, and energetic children. Here, guests can explore a pirate ship, dine in a secret hideaway, confront pirates with their friends, and enjoy great adventures in Neverland. They can also visit Pixie Hollow, the fairy valley where Tinkerbell lives. Couple things here. Number one, given how popular the Peter Pan ride is in every park where it is, I can't believe it's taken this long to get a Peter Pan land, but I'm all for it. And I'm very curious if Tinkerbell will be a augmented reality sort of thing, or if they're going to go with, you know, how they've done it for years. I'll be curious to see that.
Well, there are some like there's not like a Peter Pan land, but obviously they had Skull Rock at Disneyland, and then there's also the Skull Rock sort of thing near. I don't know if it's supposed to be Peter Pan or if it's, but it sure looks like it. At
Paris?
Disneyland Paris, yeah.
Yeah, that was very much a nod to what used to be at Disneyland. So
yeah.
So
yeah, but you're right. That ride, I will admit, is at Disneyland is my favorite for basically for the pretty lights. So I'm sure I'm gonna love the the Rapunzel ride for the same reason.
When you say your favorite, do you mean your favorite Fantasyland ride or your favorite ride at Disneyland?
I didn't say it was the best. I said it's my favorite.
Okay,
no, I'd say it's my emotional favorite. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Sentimental favorite. That's a better phrase.
I just learned something about you, Kyle.
And when I started collecting pins and I didn't want to get carried away, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to collect Peter Pan pins, but I can collect Peter Pan's flight pins. So my favorite one I have is actually like, it looks like the wait time sign and you can actually spin the dial.
Oh, I love that. I never knew that, but I love to know that. Thank you for sharing, Kyle.
Yeah, one of my favorite rides and one that I get to ride the least because I'm like, I'm not waiting 45 minutes for that.
True enough. Whenever I'm there early in the day, like rope dropping or whatever, I'm like, get to Peter Pan because it is few and far between that I ever do this. Agreed.
That's a SoCal downpour day kind of ride.
Totally. So we also got news about the Tokyo DisneySea Fantasy Springs Hotel. This hotel will be the 6th Disney hotel in Japan and will be situated near the magical spring in Fantasy Springs. Paintings depicting Disney princesses as well as floral motifs can be seen throughout the interior of the hotel, allowing the world of Fantasy Springs to continue from the park to the hotel. The hotel is comprised of 419 deluxe-type rooms. In addition, there are 56 luxury-type rooms, offering guests the finest accommodation experience at Tokyo Disney Resort. So, I mean, they're going full in, it seems like, over at Tokyo Disney.
Yep. It's going to be, I mean, they already have one hotel that's attached to the park there. So this will be the second one, which is kind of cool.
Very cool. Let's move on. We got news that Disney's Blizzard Beach water park will be reopening to guests on November 13th, 2022, and will add some Frozen touches. The new Frozen features will be part of the kid-sized thrills of Tyke's Peak that's popular among young guests who will delight in the statuettes of Olaf and his Snowy pals and the warm waiting pool, as well as Anna and Elsa's Igloo Castle. This is one of those things that's just like, I can't believe it hasn't happened sooner.
Yeah, and I know people are disappointed because this is where you had like some of the original characters like the Ice Skater and stuff like that. But from what I understand, like there's still some Ice Skater presence, like it's on the sign and everything, so it's not completely gone. but I guess this was kind of a main area where that character and the associated ones were found. So I know people are sad to see that go away in favor of IP. They want IP in the pool.
Yeah. You're an idiot. I can't believe you just said that. Oh, man. Wow. You're talking about the alligator mascot, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's funny. As I was just at Walt Disney World driving around the resort, I passed the sign for Blizzard Beach several times, and I saw that gator, and I was like, God, it just feels so 90s. Now, it's interesting because I can totally see that gator in the future becoming like an orange bird sort of icon where he'll be on t-shirts and stuff, or it even had kind of like Pleasure Island feels to me for some reason.
I could see that.
He's very much a retro character. I do think he's probably stayed beyond his welcome, but as you know, I love the original character stuff for attractions, so like, you know, I'm not happy to see him go. I just can't believe it took this long to get frozen in Blizzard Beach, and frankly, I'm surprised it hasn't creeped beyond just the children's play area. I wouldn't be surprised if it does go beyond that in the future, because it's just too perfect, right? I mean, it's just too perfect.
Big summer blowout.
So beyond that, the water park, which features heated water throughout the park, will also have an enhanced holiday atmosphere. This year, there will be limited-time holiday offerings through December 31st that include holiday-themed treats, snowfall, and festive inner tubes. Guests can even meet a tropical-dressed Santa for the ultimate Florida holiday experience. I love the idea of snowfall in Blizzard Beach. I think that should be a year-round thing.
Yeah, you got to be careful that you don't slip in the snope when you're walking.
That's true. It could cause some problems in that sense.
But I like that they're bringing back this like beach-themed Santa, like a DCA back in the day.
Yes. God, do you remember that? Totally. It's honestly, it's probably the same costume they shipped to the other coast.
I'd be excited to see if that's the case, but I think it'll probably be a different.
I want Laughing Place to have, whether or not it's even the same costume, I want you guys to have an article with a DCA and the new one, and
we can make that happen.
Excellent.
I'm sure we have it. They covered DCA 1.0 extensively back in the day.
Can the title be like per the request of Jeff DePaule? And then
I'll see about that.
Okay, thank you for looking into it. I appreciate it. Let's move on, because attendance at Universal Orlando surpasses most Walt Disney World theme parks. This was from a Blog Mickey article that I read about it. This is just kind of interesting to me. I wanted to touch on it. Estimated attendance figures at Universal Studios Florida was 8.99 million. I believe that is this so far this year they're talking about.
No, 2021.
Oh, 2021, thank you. And Universal's Islands of Adventure was 9.1 million, outpacing attendance at Disney's Animal Kingdom, which was 7.2 million, Epcot was 7.7 million, and Disney's Hollywood Studios was 8.6 million. This marks a significant shift in Central Florida tourism and perhaps signals that Universal is gaining on Disney World. Oh, it says Disney World. I'm going to say on Walt Disney World. In terms of pure visitation, only Magic Kingdom, with 12.7 million visitors, had more visitors than Universal's theme parks. I mean, this is interesting for a number of reasons. Number one, it's a shift. Number two, I don't think Disney cares. It seems to be like this is the direction they're aiming for. Less people, more money.
Well, also, not only do I think it matters because exactly for what you're saying, but also I think 2021, even though it was definitely closer to normal than 2020, there's still like several things were missing. They're practically begging people not to come until October 1st when they were launching the 50th. So that leaves you only 1/4 of potentially true attendance. And yeah, like you're saying, like they're purposely trying to limit the number of people. So I think it'll be more interesting to see what the 2022 numbers are. And for the record, T, which is the themed entertainment, whatever it is.
Oh, Thea?
Thea. But it also is spelled, they do T sometimes and Thea other times. It's very confusing. There's where these attendance numbers come from. And even they left the 2019 rankings while putting the attendance numbers because they basically said, hey, things are still in flux. So we're going to rank things the way that they were in 2019. So I think 2022 will probably give us a slightly better idea, but it is kind of, I mean, especially with Epic Universe coming up too. That's another thing on the horizon that could shake things up. But yeah, I don't think that this doesn't mean that there's not demand for for Walt Disney World parks outside of Magic Kingdom. It just means that, Disney is going to, and I also get mixed things from the community right now. Like, people are both saying that they hate the reservation system, but then also complaining that it's still busy. So I'm like, so then which way do you want?
Well, because I think the argument there is, if you're going to have a reservation system, why don't you actually, control the amount of crowds that are there? Because the crowds have
obviously they are. If you're saying that you can't get a reservation.
I don't see it in the parks. Either that or there's just horrible crowd control. When I was just there, the lines for stuff that shouldn't have been an hour were well over an hour. And I don't know, there's something broken. And I think there's a lot of playing around with Genie Plus and Lightning Lane and trying to figure out the process. To me, it's just a bad guest experience right now. I think people are annoyed with that. I think people are annoyed with the reservation system. I wouldn't take out of account the fact that some of that probably affected attendance, plus just on top of the fact that I'm sure everybody who is a frequent Disney park visitor probably goes less than they have in the past. Mm-hmm. Everybody I know, that is the case, unless they're like media going for media stuff. But whether it's they don't want to because they're annoyed, or they can't get it because the reservation system is so problematic, people are just going less. In fact, I have a mutual friend of ours, who, for their resolution for next year that they check into every month, one of the things on his list is go to the parks more, because he just feels like he's so out of it because it's been such a problem. So it's put more effort into actually getting there. I definitely miss the days of just being able to hop in and out. I think that Universal's running the parks without a reservation system, and I don't think it's a huge problem for them. I don't think
they were filling up when they first reopened. I remember it was kind of a crapshoot if you showed up in the afternoon whether or not they'd actually still be allowing people in.
Sure, and listen, I'm not saying there shouldn't be a capacity. There were days at Disneyland where it was like, hey, we're full, and I know I would rather that. Unless you're on vacation. The only exemption for that, I feel like, is if you're on vacation and staying at a Disney hotel, you should be able to get in regardless. Well,
that's always what they did, is they'd have when it did get to capacity, there were different phases of the closure, and the one-day tickets were the last to, the sale of tickets, obviously. That was the first to go, and then...
When Epic Universe opens, if numbers like this continue for their 3 parks... and their 3 parks are doing better than 3 of Disney's parks, if that continues, regardless of whether or not Disney cares, because like we said, it's very obvious they're going for less people and more money. I think that Universal will probably use those statistics for marketing purposes, because I think just from the outside looking in, people not like us who don't really pay attention to this news are going to be like, oh, Universal is more popular than 3 of Walt Disney World's parks. And I think that they'll probably do that, is my guess. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but...
And I do think, because of the reservation system, I do think people that are making the time to go to Central Florida for Walt Disney World are probably popping over to Universal more too. So I'm sure that's helping them.
Yeah. So I find it very interesting, and... we'll see what happens. I keep saying 3, 4, 5 years down the line, I think Disney has a huge problem on its hands, but we'll see, I guess. Perhaps I'll still be podcasting 3, 4, 5 years down the line, and we can discuss it. But in any case, now, Kyle, now that Halloween is officially over, many people's minds are going immediately to Christmas and, other end of the year holidays, even though I'm trying to hold on to fall for a little bit. But let me remind you that, of course, holiday shopping is on everybody's mind, and if you're looking for something for a Disney fan in your life, you really will want to head over to Who's It's and What's It's to check out all of the deep cut, in the know Disney referenced apparel that they have available. Now, if you think I'm kidding when I say deep cut, I dare you to go to the website and try and understand every reference in their merch. I bet you can't do it. But when you do get it, it's a glorious feeling, and you know that anyone else who recognizes the reference you're wearing is a kindred spirit. So check out what they have to offer by clicking the Who's It's and What's It's link in this episode's description, and don't forget to use discount code DCTC at checkout to save 15% off of your entire order. Shall we move on, Kyle, to more news?
Yes.
Great. Because according to Variety, Disney has confirmed that it will release Black Panther Wakanda Forever in theaters in France on November 9th, despite the country's strict windowing regulations. Now, under the current guidelines, which were established by the French government just 9 months ago, Disney's pay VOD, video on demand, window is set at 4 months, and subscription-based streaming window at 17 months after films debut in theaters. The only way to bypass those French rules entirely is to forego a release in cinemas. Because of these regulations, Disney opted to forego a theatrical release for their upcoming animated feature Strange World in favor of a launch directly to Disney Plus for France. The bold move was seen as an attempt to put pressure on upcoming negotiations to amend the windowing rules, which are expected to kick off in January. Despite the decision regarding Strange World, Disney has decided to go ahead with a French theatrical release of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Disney said again that it believes the chronology is anti-consumer and puts all studios at increased risk for piracy, which is why the majority of the stakeholders agreed that it needs to be completely revised. They added that until the new windowing regulations are established, it will continue to make future release decisions on a film-by-film basis. I mean, I remember it wasn't that long ago we talked about this story. I'm just curious, what do you think this says about the movie that they decided to release it theatrically? Like, does this mean that they have a lot of faith in the film, a little faith in the film? Does it hurt the wallet too much if a Marvel film doesn't go in theaters? Like, I'm curious why this film.
Because it's a Marvel movie. I mean, they've always talked about the tentpole and have that Marvel, that people, even if they do release them quickly on Disney Plus, that people are still going to want to go to the theaters to see them because they're a communal event and a spectacle. And so I think they're just saying, hey, yeah, it's different for an animated movie we can put on Disney Plus and people can watch with the family at home. That's probably, in some cases, a better viewing experience for them. Whereas a Marvel movie is the type of thing that people want to see with other people in a movie theater.
Yeah, I find it interesting, and it just has a little bit, and this isn't a fair statement, but it has a little bit of a feeling of, okay, if we're throwing it directly to Disney Plus, like, we don't have as much faith in it, versus a Marvel movie, like you said, a tentpole movie. I don't know, it just, I feel a little bad for the filmmakers. I think that's what it really comes down to for me. The filmmakers, it's like, okay, are you good enough for a theatrical release? Yes or no?
Well, I mean, I think you're right. I think it totally sounds like that, which is why Pixar was so disheartened that they had so many in a row that went straight to Disney Plus. Yeah. But also, like, I don't know why France, the government of France, thinks that this is an issue that should concern them.
Yeah,
I mean, that's weird to me from an American perspective. Just being like, wait, why do you care about when movie studios put out their art to different areas? Like, that's weird. Like, it just seems like it should be between the cinemas and the studios.
17 months is an incredibly long time. I do remember as a kid, let's go back a long time now, folks, to the VHS days. I can remember, like, a movie would come out in theaters, and it wouldn't hit VHS for, like, a year. And then that kept getting shorter and shorter. It would be 9 months. Then it would be, like, 6 months. Then it would be, like, 3 months. Till, in, like, you know, it was just shorter and shorter, so I mean, 17 months is longer than even the VHS days. I never remember waiting over a year for a movie to go from theaters to VHS.
Yeah.
It's a long
time.
Except
for the fact that when we were really young kids, Disney didn't release any of they would just re-release in theaters every 7 years instead of actually putting them on VHS.
That's very true. That is very true. But yeah, I don't know. 17 months just seems like an extraordinarily long time. I don't get their reasoning for it. I'm glad it's only one country doing it. And selfishly, I'm glad it doesn't affect the US, because I think it would be sad if they had to make that decision to put more movies straight to Disney Plus. But in any case.
Yeah, it seems like it would potentially hurt cinemas more than I assume it's meant to help them, and it doesn't.
Yeah, that probably is the purpose of the law. But yeah, I'm sure Disney isn't the only studio making those decisions, because they all have streaming services now. So,
although I will say, obviously, French cinema is pretty robust in terms of their domestic output. So that could be something that we're not really factoring in. We're talking about all these import titles, but I think they do have a lot of original content flowing in as well.
Yeah, good point. Anyway, let's talk about something we really kind of reported on the last House of Mouse headlines, but in classic House of Mouse headlines fashion, as soon as it dropped, we got more details, and that is that Fantasmic will be returning to Disney's Hollywood Studios on November 3rd. Now, the new hero sequence will feature a high-energy Aladdin chase with stunts never before seen on the Fantasmic stage, a powerful scene with Elsa set to the song Show Yourself, and stirring moments with Pocahontas, Moana, and Mulan. I find this interesting because if you're going to add a new sequence to a show about villains, I just wish it was about villains. It's kind of weird they're adding more hero stuff to Fantasmic.
Mickey needs help, buddy.
I guess so. Mickey can't do it himself, so more heroes.
This is his dream, and he's dreaming of heroes.
Disney Live Entertainment producer Laurice Murrier said, even beyond the new scene, we've taken this time to upgrade the lasers, the lighting, the sound, all to bring this show back even more beautiful than it's ever been. We're all really just so excited for guests to see it. This is great news. I mean, I don't think it ever really got a major rehaul since it opened, what was it, 1998, I think. And I'm excited for that. Still no word on the dragon. I am crossing my fingers that, like, it premieres and there's just a beautiful dragon there. But I don't know. I wouldn't make a bet on that.
I mean, if they're really doing all that many upgrades, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb if they don't do something with it, right?
I guess, but I just feel like that's something they would have announced, and it's not like they can shock guests with it on opening night because there's cast member previews, and we know that
maybe they learned from Summer Night-tastic. They
don't want
maybe
to
promise too much.
Actually, that may be true. If you remember Summer Night-tastic back in 2009, I believe, the Dragon was supposed to premiere in like July, and it ended up being September. So yeah, maybe
it was like 2 days after the promotion technically ended.
Yes,
something like
very
that.
True.
Maybe
very,
not literal 2
true.
days, but.
One really fascinating thing about this is that the show will be running approximately 3 minutes longer, which is really interesting in a time when it feels like, when we see like what they've done with Finding Nemo and Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, it always feels like make it a couple minutes shorter because people's attention spans are shot to hell. So I think that it just speaks for how powerful and popular Fantasmic is that they are like, yeah, we'll do a few minutes longer, and we feel like, I mean, it's a nearly half-hour show, and I don't know, that was surprising to me.
It's not that surprising to me if they're adding all these different things. Like, I kind of assumed it'd be one scene, and it sounds like it's several sub-scenes, so.
I feel like they're all going to intertwine, kind of like...
I'm sure that they will, but it sounds like they're still,
I just assumed they would make sure that it was no longer than what the Pocahontas scene was. That was my guess and assumption. But apparently I was wrong.
That did feel really long,
three
too.
more minutes of Fantasmic. So you can enjoy those bleacher seats for 3 more minutes and, 3 more minutes of theme park time if you're going at the end of the night because it tends to end after the park is closed. So good stuff. Good stuff. I'm ready for Fantasmic to return and crossing the fingers for the dragon. In any case, Kyle, that's going to do it for the news this week. Anything you'd like to add before we go?
What do you think about the Doctor Who thing, though? I think that's interesting. So I guess it's not going to be on BBC America anymore. It's going to be on Disney Plus in America. And I think Disney is also going to be like co-producing it. So they're wondering if it'll have a higher budget and things like that for the new episodes.
Yeah, you asked me what I think about it. I'd say I'm completely indifferent. I've never seen an episode of Doctor Who, but it's one of those things where like they were producing new episodes, right? So this isn't like a reboot or anything. It's just they're going to continue making new episodes and put them on. It's kind of like a Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, but except that instead of going from ABC to Disney Plus, it's going from BBC America to Disney Plus.
Yeah, so how did Disney get their fingers on that?
They made a pact with BBC. They're they're co-producing, and I'm sure they shelled out money.
Yeah, good for them. Good for Doctor Who. And frankly, I know that there's a huge fan base for that. I hope the fan base is happy. I guess that's what I would say about it, because I know that it's a very opinionated fan base and a very active fan base. So whatever, I hope that they're excited that it's going to be on Disney Plus, and whatever that means with Disney being involved. I really know nothing about the show. I know there's a telephone booth that people go into, and I think time travel with it. Is that accurate?
It's a police call box, yeah.
Yeah, okay. A police call box. So yeah, that's all I really know. I know nothing else about Doctor Who.
Well, when it comes to the parks, then you...
Well, there is that I think of that phone booth in the UK pavilion at Epcot. Maybe that'll become a Doctor Who police box.
Well, it's funny because we actually saw a photo from the executives visited Walt Disney World, and there was a photo. I guess they had like a little display set up for them, and there was some costumes from Abbott Elementary, and then there was the police call box, the TARDIS, and we're like, because there was already rumors that Disney was like trying to make a pact with BBC. We didn't know what to extent, and we're like, well, I guess that's a done deal. And then like 3 days later, they announced this.
That's so funny. Oh, speaking of the red phone booths in London, I went to London last December. It's been almost a year now. They still have those things around. Isn't that funny? Like, no, everybody's got a cell phone now. It's very rare to see a payphone in America, but they still, I don't know whether or not they still work, but regardless, they still have the red phone booths around, because I assume just because they're super iconic to London, which I think is hilarious.
I like it.
I like it too. Anyway, you asked about Doctor Who, so now I've got to ask you. This sounds like something that you are interested in, or
no, not really. No, I have friends that like Doctor Who. I just think it's interesting from a media conglomerate point of view.
Well, I'm sure Disney was staying up late at night saying, we don't own enough. We haven't bought enough IP already. And they were like, who can we get? Doctor Who. And that's probably how it went.
Who?
Brilliant. Anyway, that's going to do it, Kyle. I will talk to you in a couple of weeks, my friend.
All right. Bye.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. What do you think of the expansion happening at Tokyo DisneySea? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569 and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing and following Disney, with a Z, Coast to Coast on your favorite podcast app. This episode has been executive produced by Mackenzie Jalen Arnold. Gain rewards like Mackenzie, including access to never-before-heard episodes and live-stream Q&As, by visiting the Patreon link in this episode's description. And during November 2022, I'll be matching 100% of your first month subscription to Toys for Tots, where they're delivering hope for less fortunate children. Basically, anything you need can be found in this episode's description, from additional information and links discussed in this episode found in the show notes, to the DCTC hotline where you can leave a voicemail and be heard on a future episode, access to the show's official website, some free gifts from me to you, and so much more. So be sure to check out this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. This podcast is part of the DePodcast Network. Learn more about this show, plus find more quality and entertaining podcasts at DePodcastNetwork.com. That's DEPodcastNetwork.com.